As you learn about the narcissistic pattern, it's also wise to reflect on the much healthier alternatives. Now, below you're going to find a link to my new extensive course called Ready, Set, Connect. It addresses both the mindset and the skills involved in gratifying relationships, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. As a therapist who spent well over 40 years talking with individuals about all sorts of difficulties and strains and problems that they've encountered in their lives, I've heard pretty much every story in the book. And one of the patterns that never ceases to amaze me is that there are some otherwise very intelligent people who can make some very dim-witted decisions in the way that they do life. And it's not like there's a shortage of illustrations that I could come up with. Now, it would be easy to say that there are some individuals who on a broad basis, let's say in their religious ideology or their political ideology, or even just how to parent, that they hold on to certain ideas and concepts that simply don't stand up to reasoning. And when you sit down and say, hey, look, I know you have this thought that's here, but there's something else that we can consider. Would you like to look into that? It's like, nope, I don't care what the facts say. My mind is made up, and they're so given over to their ideologies that reasoning simply doesn't exist. And that's basically the definition of being dim-witted. And we tend to think of it as being somebody that has a low IQ and they just don't have the capacity to reason things well. But there are people who have a high IQ who still don't have the capacity to reason well. And I've heard so many stories of people making lifestyle decisions, and it's like, did you really think that was a good idea? For example, there was a guy that I knew that his wife had died, and he went on a dating site and met this woman and told her that his wife had died a little over a year ago. And it's like, no, she died 2 weeks ago. And are you so dumb as to think that people aren't going to find out what that's all about? But it's like, well, it seemed like a good idea at the time. I just didn't want to make it seem like it was something that it wasn't. That's dim-witted. I remember talking to another fella, and he was telling me about his problems with his addictions, and he said, yeah, I've calculated over the last few years that I average about $2,500 or so a month on my spending on alcohol. And this guy was not a wealthy person. I'm thinking $2,500 a month, and he'd been through rehab and all the rest, and he kept going back to his addictions, and there are many elements that are there, but there's a dim-witted element there. Or I had one woman that said, well, I would have a good social life, except my husband has such a bad anger problem, and he's so argumentative that he chases people off. Family members don't like us being around, and friends just say, I'd like to be with you, but not him. And then he would laugh and say, yeah, I know sometimes I can be argumentative, and then just keep doing it anyway. An intelligent person who otherwise makes some dim-witted kinds of decisions, knowing full well that it's not going to get anywhere good. Another woman, constantly late, laughing about how she's constantly late. She's in sales, knows that she misses sales because she refuses to do anything about that particular issue. And just laugh and say, yeah, I could probably do a lot better if I decided to be punctual, but, I've been that way all my life. And you look at that and it's like, you can do something about it. You're an intelligent person, but they don't. And I could come up with so many other illustrations, and some of them are of moral failures. Some of them are just lifestyle practices that are grossly insensitive, ethics, and on and on. Now, unlike a person that truly has a low IQ and can't reason, there are multiple factors with these smart individuals who are otherwise dim-witted in the way that they engage that could be addressed, but are not. Let's see if we can run through some of what goes into the making of smart people who are also dim-witted in the way that they do life. With these kind of individuals, you have egotism that overrides humility. When you start out in the narcissistic mindset with a pretty self-impressed approach toward life, the natural byproduct is that you devalue other individuals, which means that if someone comes along and says, I have a way of thinking that you might be interested in, or I have an angle on this particular issue that perhaps you've not thought about, the egotism makes them think, hey, look, there's only one opinion in this room that matters, and it's not yours, and there's no humility that's there. A humble individual says, well, I like knowing what I know, but I can always learn something more, and there are plenty of people out there who have perspectives that I could probably learn from. Let's find out what that is. Narcissists, their egotism won't allow that, and they remain in their dim-witted mindset. Or in addition, they have a mindset that says, my perspective overrides empathy. Now, one of the ways that we learn is we actually develop empathy. We realize you have perspectives, you have feelings, you have experiences to draw upon. I'd like to get inside and know that with you, because as I know you more deeply, then it allows me to have an expansive way of looking at people and events and how you interpret things, and I can be a better person, and I hope you would do that with me. Whereas in the narcissistic mindset, it's like, no, empathy doesn't interest me. I don't care what other people think. And so not only does the egotism override humility, but it also overrides empathy. Now, in addition, these individuals who are otherwise smart but dim-witted, they've kind of concluded, and sometimes this may be on a subconscious level, that easy formulas override nuance. One of the things that I find is that there are so many different unique elements that each person brings to a relationship that rather than saying, well, you need to believe this and you need to do it this way and it needs to be interpreted like that. Well, sometimes there are situations like, oh, you have a set of circumstances that don't quite fit that formula. Or I'm being rather simple-minded and there's some complexities there that we need to take into account. Let's look at that. The dim-witted person says, look, I already have my agenda set, and what you need to do is just simply conform to me. That's not smart. That doesn't make sense. Or in addition, these smart but otherwise dim-witted people are very self-impressed, and their self-impressed mindset overrides curiosity. They're not curious about who you are. Now, beneath the surface, there are other more emotionally charged elements that they're not coming to terms with. These smart but dim-witted individuals also have an insecurity that overrides calm steadiness. You have to be a really insecure person to say, I'm the most secure person you ever met, or I know everything I need to know, or I'm going to do everything my way. And it's like, why are you so afraid of other ideas? Why are you so afraid of saying, I need help, or I could learn something from you? Their insecurity won't allow them to go there, and as a result, they don't really have calmness and steadiness. They create chaos. And right on the heels of that, they have hidden fears that overrides their need to include other individuals. In other words, they don't trust. Somewhere in the equation, it's like, well, if I open myself up to somebody else's thoughts and feelings and perspectives, that would be a good thing. It's like, no, if I do that, people are going to try to dominate me. They're going to try to control me. They're going to start telling me how I'm supposed to think. And so they want to seize control as a fear reaction to having the fear of being controlled. In addition, these smart and yet dim-witted individuals tend to have an anger, and typically some suppressed or unresolved anger that overrides their willingness to harmonize. Down at the base of their thinking is, I can't stand it when people are this way or when they're that way. And they have a sense of contempt or even hatred or agitation and easy annoyance and impatience. All of that's on an unresolved level. And so their reasoning is a byproduct of that kind of unresolved emotion. So we can see that an individual can be smart, But dim-witted, and really when it comes down to it, being a smart person doesn't mean necessarily that you have wisdom. And dim-witted, in the sense that I'm talking about, implies there's a lack of wisdom that guides these other individuals, which is its own form of emotional intelligence and its own form of wise way of engaging with the world. And so that being the case, I'm going to recognize I don't feel the need to get inside the arena with a dim-witted person by trying to plead my case or debating with somebody who is simply not disposed at all to hear different ideas. Instead, I want to recognize that people that have this dim-witted kind of mindset are going to, they're going to have their groupies and all, and I may be separate from them, and it may create a type of loneliness that I have in the moment when I'm with that person, but I'm willing to take that on and realize I don't want to be involved in a groupie, codependent kind of a mindset with somebody who's unable to reason well. I'm going to set my boundaries. I'm going to have my stipulations and my consequences. And when I'm in the presence of someone who's very dim-witted, I'm going to go ahead and live inside my definition of what I know is wisest and best. And then, as is possible, I'm going to try to connect with people who can think well and who do honor differences and who do honor nuances in relationships, because that's just built into human nature. So we're going to say that otherwise smart people with a good IQ can lack wisdom, and that's really what's at the base of this dim-witted style of engaging with others. And when that is the case, I'm going to remind myself, well, I know I do have blind spots, and I know that there's something I can always learn. And I'd like to engage with others in a way where we say, I'd like for you to assist me just as I can assist you. That's the healthy way of doing things. Smart individuals are smart enough to say, sometimes I don't know everything. Does that sound in any way like the way the narcissist in your life thinks? I didn't think so. And I hope that a video such as this can give you some good things to think through and a good understanding of what you're dealing with. If you've not already hit the subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so, and the notification bell will keep more videos coming in your direction. If you have a need for therapy, then I'm sponsored by the people at BetterHelp.com, and there's a whole team of licensed professional therapists that you could seek out. We have a link below that will take you to their website, and I know that there are times when you want to hopefully sift this out with somebody that really can help you reason things through, even if it's in your own individualized kind of way. In addition, we have my therapeutic courses. These are video classes where I have multiple videos and written material and guided questions that will take you to a therapeutic direction. Ready, Set, Connect. It's about having healthy connection skills. This is me establishing boundaries, free to be, finding yourself despite the controllers. We also have my podcast, and we have books below and other resources. Thank you for letting me be a part of your journey. It's one of the most baffling things to say that there's somebody that may be otherwise intelligent and yet dim-witted at the same time, and you want to shake them and say, come on, we can do better. And yet, in their dim-witted ways, like, not me. Like, okay, I get it. Let them be what they are. I hope that you, in your wisdom, can say, I want to be committed to dignity, respect, and civility. I want to be a lifelong learner, and I'm hoping you can be the person of peace that narcissist just is not going to be able to match pitch with. I do want you to find your place of peace.